About 1 in 4 American adults has a will. Not 1 in 4 of the young ones. 1 in 4 of everybody, and the number has been going down year after year in survey after survey. Now here is the part that makes it interesting instead of just sad. When you ask people whether this matters to them, nearly 3/4 say yes, it matters. So this is not a story about people who do not care. Almost everybody in that survey cares. It is a story about a conversation that does not happen in millions of houses for reasons nobody says out loud. Tonight I want to show you the machinery of that silence because it is not laziness and it is not denial exactly. There are 2 different fears sitting at that table, one on each side, and neither one can say its own name. I am Sam, and this is the place where we look at what money does to people rather than what people do with money. Fair warning, no legal advice tonight and no forms. I am not a lawyer and I would not be a good one. What I have is a fairly clear view of the room because I have sat in it. Let me give you the numbers first and then we will leave numbers alone. 2 separate surveys, run by different organizations with different samples, both landed in the same place recently. One found 24% of adults have a will, the other found 26%, and both of them show the same direction of travel, which is downward. One of them had it at 33% a few years ago. The other had it 5 points higher just 1 year earlier. The same recent report found that more than half of American adults have no estate documents of any kind, while about 73% say the subject is personally important to them. Sit with those 2 numbers together, because that gap is the whole episode. 73% say it matters. Roughly a quarter have done it. That is not a knowledge problem. Nobody needs to be told that dying without instructions is messy. That is a talking problem. So let us go to the table. 2 people, or 5, and one thing that never gets said. Start with the parent's side, because the parent is usually the one holding the pen. The first fear is the obvious one, and it is real. To write this document, you have to picture yourself dead, not in the abstract, philosophical way we are all fine with. You have to picture it specifically. You have to imagine a morning when your house exists and you do not, and somebody is going through the drawers. Your brain treats that image as a threat, and it does what brains do with threats it cannot solve, so it postpones the whole thing. The postponement gets dressed up in respectable clothing, when things settle down, after the house sells. Once I know what your brother is doing. The second fear is quieter and, in my experience, stronger. That document is one of the last real levers of authority a person has. As you age, you lose things one at a time, often without any ceremony. The car keys go first, then the ladder. Deciding what happens at the holidays, managing your own medicine schedule, all of it drifts gently and lovingly toward your children. The will is different. The will is a thing only you can sign. As long as it is unsigned and unspoken, everyone is still asking. Once it is written and shared, a certain kind of asking stops. Some part of us knows that, and that part is not eager to hurry. And then a third one that nobody admits, the fear of what fairness will reveal. Most parents do not divide things exactly equally because their children's lives are not exactly equal. One had bad luck. One was lent money in 2011 and never mentioned it again. One lives near enough to drive over when the furnace fails. Any honest document says something out loud about all that, and the parent knows it will be read as a scoreboard. Silence looks like the kinder option. It is not, but it looks like it. Now cross the table. The adult-child side. Their first fear is being seen as someone who is counting. This one is enormous, and it is the reason most of these conversations never start. If you bring up the will, you are afraid it will land as, how much do I get, and when? So you say nothing for years, and the not saying becomes proof to you that you are a good person who does not think about money. Meanwhile, the actual risk to your family grows. Their second fear is that raising it means saying out loud that a parent is going to die. Children of any age do not want to be the one who introduces that sentence into the room. It feels like inviting it in. And the third, which I hear more than any other, they do not want to be seen as taking over. They have watched a friend get accused of muscling in on their parents' finances, and they would rather leave a mess untouched than be that person in the family story. Now put both sides together and look at what you actually have. The parent thinks, they have not brought it up, so they are not thinking about it, so there is no pressure and I can wait. The child thinks, he has not brought it up, so he does not want to talk about it, and pushing would be disrespectful. Both are reading the other person's silence as a preference. Neither one has a preference. They both have a fear, and the fears happen to produce identical behavior, which is nothing. That is the machinery. And once you see it, the fix is not motivational. Nobody needs to be told this is important. What they need is a way to open the subject that does not trip either fear. So let me give you what actually works, and it is smaller than you think. The first move is to change who the conversation is about. The child who says, "Dad, what happens to the house?" is asking about the parent's death and the parent's money in one sentence. Both fears fire at once. But the child who says, "I'm getting my own paperwork done, and I realized I have no idea how you would want things handled if you got sick," has done something completely different. They put their own name in the sentence first. Now it is two adults comparing notes. And parents, this works in the other direction just as well. Try, "I am doing something I have put off for years, and I would like you to know where things are." You are not announcing your death. You are handing somebody a map. The second move is to separate the two conversations, because most families collapse them into one and then choke. There is a money conversation, which is who gets what, and there is a logistics conversation, which is where things are and who has to be called. The second one is far less threatening, and it is honestly the more urgent of the two. Where is the deed? Which bank holds it? Is there a safe deposit box? And who is on it? Who is your lawyer, if there is one? Who do we call about the insurance? You can have that entire conversation without saying a single number, and in a real emergency, it is the one that saves everybody weeks. So start there. The rest gets easier once the family has had one successful conversation about your death that nobody cried during. The third move is timing, and this is the one people get badly wrong. Do not do it at a holiday dinner. Everybody is present, which feels efficient, but a table full of siblings turns a conversation into a negotiation, and whoever speaks first gets treated as the one with an agenda. One person, one car ride, or one kitchen at a quiet hour. Big groups later, after the shape is clear. And the fourth thing, which is not a move but a fact worth having in your pocket, some of the biggest pieces of money in a family do not travel by will at all. Retirement accounts, life insurance, and accounts with a named beneficiary follow the name on that line, and that line can quietly disagree with everything the will says. Forms filled out decades ago at a job somebody left in 1994 still control real money. Checking those names is not a legal project. It is an afternoon, and it belongs to whoever owns the account. Let me put a shape on what the silence actually costs, without pretending to know your family. The obvious cost is legal, and it gets all the attention. When there are no instructions, a court applies a default formula, and that formula does not know your daughter moved home for 2 years, or that your son already got help with a down payment. That part is real, and it is not what I want to talk about. The cost I have watched do more damage is smaller and harder to undo. It is a set of unanswerable questions. Did he want to be cremated? She always said the ring goes to somebody, but nobody can remember who. Would he have wanted the house sold or kept in the family? Those questions do not have legal answers. They have only the answer the person could have given and did not, and the family gets to argue about it in the same week they are trying to plan a funeral. And here is the part that lands hardest. In every family I have watched go through this without a map, one person ends up doing all of it. Usually it is whoever lives closest, and usually it is not the one who talks about it most. They take 2 weeks off work. They find out what a death certificate costs when you need 11 copies. They get accused of being slow by a sibling 3 states away, and afterwards the family relationships never quite return to their old shape. None of that was in anybody's plan. It was just what happened in the absence of a plan. So when I say the silence costs something, I do not mainly mean money. I mean that somebody you love will spend the worst month of their life guessing what you would have wanted, and being second-guessed while they do it. I want to be careful here, because it would be easy to end with a lecture, and lectures are exactly what keeps this door shut. Here is the reframe I would offer instead. The reason to do this is not that you might die, which everyone finds unpersuasive when they feel well. The reason is that these documents are the last thing you make for people you love, and they get read at the single worst week of your family's life. Everything in them either helps that week or hurts it. That is the actual choice. Not death, not taxes. The tone of 1 week. And if you are the child in this story, understand that your silence is not neutral either. You think you are being respectful. From the other chair it can look like indifference, or like your parent thinks you would rather not be bothered. 2 people, both being considerate, and the effect is identical to 2 people who do not care. So, 3 things to take away. The first is that the gap is not about knowledge. 73% say it matters, and about a quarter have done it, and no amount of explaining why it matters closes a gap that size. The second is that both sides of the table are frightened, and the 2 fears look exactly the same from outside, which is silence. Knowing that lets you stop reading the other person's quiet as a decision. The third is that the door opens sideways. Talk about your own paperwork, not theirs. Ask where things are before you, ask who gets what. One person, not the whole family. And go check the beneficiary lines on the accounts, because that is real money moving on autopilot. I should say the plain thing. I am not an attorney, and this is not legal advice. Which documents fit your family, and what the rules are in your state, is a conversation for somebody licensed where you live. Everything I gave you tonight is about how people talk, or fail to. Now I would like to hear from you, and please be honest, because the honest ones help somebody. Has this conversation happened in your family, and who started it? Or has it not? And what is the sentence you cannot get past? I read these, and one line from you may be the exact sentence somebody else has been looking for. If this was useful, subscribe. The one I would send you to next is the episode on why people who saved all their lives cannot spend the money, because it is the same machinery running in a different room. I am Sam. Write it down, then go cut the grass.